Girl, you the band, and she love me when I'm in it, and she never be pretending. Nothing is friend. She gon' tell you what she bought it, cause she know you can't afford it. Know you can get it, looking exquisite, no competition. Stay on the pivot. Who be watching, they be plotting. She's so motherfucking independent. Mama be big, got on her grind. She had to get out her mama.
I'm so excited to have you here as part of the E-Spot. Thank you so much for joining us. So tell us, how did you get started in the entertainment industry? And welcome.
Well, thank you for the welcome. It's been a nice, warm welcome. I got started, I started acting when I was in middle school, and it was just fun, and it was a playful, thing to do after school, extracurricular. I continued in high school. I went to Howard University and majored as a
I guess we see you love out there, even though Eagle Pride.
All the love. And that's what you put up the Eagles. I went to HBCU because of Central, because, growing up in Durham, always going to the, basketball games, the culture of the experience, hearing the band. I was like, I can't imagine going to a school without hearing that, like, just hearing a drum line in the background. And I lived in Durham my whole life, but I was like, maybe I'll go somewhere else. And so
Howard U was a good place to start.
It was a great place to start. And then I trained at the Yale School of Drama. And
what was that like? I don't get a lot of Yale Drama School people, and it's like the most coveted because you think of Angela Bassett, Samuel Jackson. So what was that experience like? Like, that's the school for acting.
And that's what it felt like, walking in the doors. You certainly know the shoulders that you're standing on as a student, and that the spaces that you're training in are blessed, in those ways by the people that came before. And so,
like, what was even the process to apply, to go from, like, you just...
Yeah, I do know.
Okay, like, share with us.
Okay, well, to get into the Yale School of Drama, obviously you apply, right? And once your application is submitted, then you have to do the audition portion. And the audition portion consists of 2 monologues, and of course you have your headshot, your resume. So you go and audition in either New York, New Haven, or California. And then New York, New Haven, I want to say Chicago and California. And then after you audition, then there's another round of auditions, the callback round. And you have 2 rounds of callbacks the day of the audition. And then there's another round like a couple of months later after they've auditioned everybody in the country. The year I applied, I think they said about 1,500 applicants applied for the 16 slots that became our class, which was a crazy number to think about before auditioning. But
because how many spots were they even filling?
16.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's a lot of pressure.
Each class is 16 students. And the same at Howard as well, actually. It was a very wonderful experience, just being able to concentrate on the craft of acting and break it down in so many different ways. The voice, the body, character work, scene work, text analysis, like all of the minutia that you just don't see when you watch a show. The amount of training that actors go through, whether they go to a grad program or undergrad, or they just train on their own. Like, it is a craft that requires lots of hours of diligent work. So yeah, it was fun.
And people don't always realize that, because I know when you first get started, a lot of times you have to do the free jobs, the student films, just to kind of build up your real or even experience. And people take that for granted that, okay, I've been doing it 10 years or 20 years. Do I still have to do free work? No, like, at some point you should be able to move past that. And also, people should understand that when you're doing the free work, is to build up your resume, build up experience, even in some ways network with people on the same level, so you guys can kind of grow up together, whether it's producers, directors, or so on. And working at Yale, I'm sure that networking experience with the different people that were in your class, whether even at Howard, because I saw that one of our greatest actors in Howard University alum was part of your acting program as well, with Chadwick Boseman. So I know that experience had to be so rich with so much more.
Yeah.
What advice would you give maybe for actors that don't necessarily have a chance to go to Yale, but as far as like networking and just really building those relationships so you can get past the free work and get to a level where you're getting to get the real jobs?
Well, I mean, you know, it is, you've made a very valid point about making connections with your peer group. Because I think the misconception is that you need to look to somebody bigger, higher to connect, and they give you an opportunity. But what I think people miss or eventually learn is that our industry is an entrepreneur's industry. We create the product, we you know what I mean. We create the idea, we sell it, and whether you're selling it to a studio or you're selling it to the masses, that is integral to the process of being successful in this business. And so when you work with people who are directly beside you, you can create something really wonderful, and then you create a following, and then you package it in a way, as opposed to waiting and knocking on somebody else's doors who are already working with their friends. You know what I mean? And have been doing so for 30 years. And yeah, it's also not underestimating yourself or the people next to you, because if they're working hard and you know, putting in the work, then that is what you want to work with. Not to say that you don't need connections that are above you and mentors and people to push things forward, but looking at it in a communal sense versus an individual sense it makes all the difference.
It really does.
You know, approaching the business in a communal understanding, because it is always steeped in community, and your success does not come without your community. Like every piece of, you know, why I'm working now is because of the community that was cultivated around me from middle school to high school to college to Yale Drama, you know. Now, this greater community that is like the industry, which is very
exactly. And that's the whole point, like being able to make that group. There'll also be your support group when you get a lot of rebuttals, because it's one of those industries. There may be 1,000 auditions you go on before you get the one, but those thousands of auditions probably weren't for you. Like they might, you don't know what they're looking for, but on the other side of the camera, all you know is you didn't get that job and somebody else did, or they ended up trashing their project. So you really do need that network of people that you can always count to help build you up. But what were some other things that you would want to give advice or opinion as far as what people should do to really build those relationships, or even what other things you learned from Howard or Yale, or just in the industry in general, that really helped you that you would want to share with others?
Well, it's a number of things, but like some 3 core things that I like hold on to on a daily basis and that I do share with people is making sure you have your own definition of what success is for you. Because you can look at somebody else's success and decide you want that. And that doesn't really apply to you in your instrument and your gifts, right? Maybe you're limiting yourself and seeing this one idea of success. And you're like, I just want to be a superstar and be on, you know, in front of the camera. Maybe you're a really gifted writer. And if you only limit yourself to, you know, one facet because of what you see, you may be limiting yourself in general. But then also, it's necessary to have your own definition of success, because it is my compass, for example, my compass whenever I'm working, to make sure that I'm doing the work that I am supposed to be doing. Like I can get a job, but is it the job for me? I cannot get a job and be sad about it, but maybe that job wasn't for you and something better is for you. So
right.
You know, there's that. But then the other part I think is actors. I strongly encourage actors specifically to write and create the work that they want to see themselves in. Because you'll get the opportunity. It will come if you put in the work, if you train, it'll come.
Right, that whole manifestation.
You know what I mean? Like it will, you'll manifest it. But once you're there, the next question somebody will say is, you know, well, what do you want to do next? And if you don't have an answer to that question, then you don't have a career. You know what I mean? You don't. So if you're only looking to do this thing and get a job or break out, but you don't see yourself in the full context of living a life as an artist, then you're limiting even your potential.
Right.
And how wonderful will it be to get your first TV gig or be a series regular, and then the season end or the series end, and somebody say, "Okay, Lauren, what do you want to do next?" And I'm like, "Well, I wrote this screenplay," and you know what I mean? And and people are like, "Great, let's do it." So again, an entrepreneur in that sense, and having a full scope of what it is you want to offer.
That's amazing. That's a really great tip. So thanks for that.
Yeah.
Now, you have a really good career going right now. So what do you think for yourself, share a little bit about how that process started off for you. You left Yale school, you graduate from Yale school. How did you get to City on a Hill? Like, what were the steps that led up to being a serious regular? And not just a serious regular, but top of the line serious regular. In that sense.
View. I actually let me make sure I got what you said. So basically, what was it that propelled you to serious regular? I think besides God and the universe, right? Like, which is a large part of the thing. But I think when you, like I said, there were other jobs that I auditioned for, that I was, that I had the opportunity to make a very significant move for. I could have, had the role or something, but it did not feel like it was the best job for me. And so I had to be patient in that sense. And yet things still happen really quickly as it relates to landing the job that I currently have. And, but I think the biggest thing was being able to, yes, focus on being an artist, but also focus on like the business side of things and understanding how the business works. And I had like a crash course, I'd say, in the last semester, going into that year of graduating grad school. And what was happening in the business that were allowing people to make certain steps forward, if that makes sense. So basically, I talked to a lot of managers and said, okay, what are you doing for your clients? I've talked to a lot of agents, and I wasn't represented by those people at that time. I was just asking questions. So I wasn't asking you, hey, can you represent me and get me jobs? I was like, well, how are you getting your clients jobs? What are you doing during this season to get clients work? What are, asking questions like that, doing the research. And thankfully, like, my school created a curriculum around us being able to ask those kinds of questions of agents. But also, once we were connected, I would follow up on, okay, so how do you prepare for pilot season? How are you preparing your clients for pilot season? Well, somebody would say, well, I have them meet with different casting directors. So that is all to say, I asked my agent, I said, okay, well, here are the casting directors that came to see my showcase. Here are the casting directors in LA that I don't know. Here are the people who are casting shows that I think I would be, good for, or casting directors at networks that I think I'll be good for. Here's all the lists. Can we connect the dots of making those meetings happen, right? And they're like, yeah. Also, thanks for making the list. Thanks for, being on it in that way. And so utilizing the resources that were at my discretion, and obviously, like, having an agent is a huge resource. But I will say, if you're not thinking in a business sense, I find that a lot of actors get frustrated with their agents because they're waiting for their agents to do all of that work. And quite frankly, that's not how agents work. They do a significant amount of work, but you are the CEO of your business, if you will. Right? And they'll do even more work the more work you do. And so I just offer that because I do recognize that, like, maybe if I didn't ask to go on those meetings and met the casting director that I met that connected to that audition that same week of those meetings, I wouldn't be, a series regular on City.
No, that's amazing. Because it's funny, I did this class yesterday with Screen Actors Guild it was part of the foundation where they had a class about career focus, and they made a point of saying, collecting those master lists, using IMDb Pro to find out the casting directors, the writers, and the producers for the shows or the kinds of shows that you see yourself on, and make those connections, whether it's through Instagram, Twitter, just following them and finding out how you could end up making those connections with each other, or seeing maybe any mutuals that you might have to find out what they were looking for, or find a way to get submitted for the latest, greatest, whatever that you might be up for. I mean, it's a little different since we live in North Carolina. There's like 3 casting directors here.
So, all the better, right? Because you got to start somewhere. And I certainly, when I graduated from Howard, I started my professional career in DC. Year between Howard and going to grad school, I was working constantly as a theater artist in professional theater houses. And, I became a part of the theater acting union, so Actors Equity, about 6 months after graduating school, which was, sometimes it takes 3 to 6 years to do that. And I think that's largely because I was working in a smaller market. I didn't go straight to New York. And because, taking that same approach and applying that to a small market and saying, okay, here are the casting directors, what shows are happening. And then eventually, auditioning for those shows, I find myself, in a paid unionized position. So
that's a good point to bring up about small markets.
Small markets are important starting off, and you get the wind beneath your wings, and then you go fly somewhere else. Yeah.
It's nice to be able, I'm Screen Actors Guild in a small market, and it's really easy in that sense when you're one of the few, that it's just, and even when I moved to LA, it was I'd lived there before, so it was probably easy anyway, but it was already I already had the Screen Actors Guild, so that I was already at a level where I wasn't at the very beginning. So it's just being able to have that option. Yeah. And it's easier here.
I think also when people are considering grad school, for example, I know a lot of people, I coach a lot of people who are applying to school. And so there's so many insecurities around the idea of going back to school for I think adults, especially over the age of 27, 29. And they're like, I don't know about this. Am I selling myself a dream? Is this ridiculous? And I was like, you don't understand how valuable it is for you and the school for you to have this experience of life, and then also of the business. And because you come into school with a different focus, right? And that 1 year did a significant, I was like, thank God I didn't go straight to grad school after undergrad, because again, working in that small market, but working in those shows, I understood exactly what I was going to grad school to get. And so I had a different focus. I wasn't going to go, to have college 2.0. I was going to put in work and grow and learn, a good deal. But also, I could put away this idea of needing to get an agent or needing to work in the business because I had a dose of what the business was. So I was able to come in and just focus as an artist, and then think about the business again when it was time.
Well, I'm going to ask one more question about your film career, and then I'm going to get into your activist career, because that seems to be what you're doing a lot right now. I'm not saying, I shouldn't say career, but it's on everybody's mind. Everybody is standing up for their rights right now because there's so many things going on and people are listening. But I wanted to ask, because I think not everyone gets that opportunity of getting to be in the position that you are, and wondering what it was like when you got the call, you found out you're getting ready to be a series regular, and I might say kind of fun co-host too. Now you're 6 degrees from Kevin Bacon is a lot cooler.
Definitely a really cool, swaggy co-star that I have.
It is a cool dude. Yeah. It's funny. So in 2018, my father won an award, and Kevin Bacon was one of the presenters at the DGA Awards. And it was the same night as the Eagles Super Bowl. And my dad's from Philly. His entire family is huge Eagles fans. Kevin Bacon is also from Philadelphia. So he gets up there, he says one word about Philly, And it was like the whole table erupted, Eagles. And he stopped and like made a moment with my uncle who has he's since passed. So it was like it was a cute moment that we all have.
Yeah.
But whenever I see Kevin Bacon, that's instantly what I think of now is my uncle interrupting him while he's presenting to say, "Go Eagles!"
Wonderful memory.
And they won. So it's a great story.
Oh, it was Kevin. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, but what was it like when you were like, wait, I'm going to be working with Aldous Hodge, Kevin Bacon, all these wonderful directors and people like on Showtime.
Yeah. Yeah.
And first day nerves, any like what?
No, I really didn't have a lot of time to digest.
Okay.
That week of meetings that I spoke about, I flew from New York to LA, had those meetings. The audition took place during the week of those meetings. At the end of after the last meeting for that week, I had an audition. One audition for that whole week. I was exhausted. I did the audition. I did the meetings. I did the audition at the end of the day. I got on red eye, came back to New York. Got to New York and got a call. Hey, they loved your audition. They want you to do the callback. They realize you just got back to New York, so they're just going to use your tape as the callback audition against the other people who come in for the callback. Okay. And then that was about 24 to 36 hours. And then I got the job. And then within another 48 hours, I was on a plane to Boston to shoot the pilot for the show. So it wasn't a lot of time between, this show is, I'm auditioning for this thing with Kevin Bacon now, Aldous Hodge, and being in the room, reading the script with them with all the producers and executives at Showtime. So, I didn't sleep much. And I remember just being like, what's happening?
Like I'm going to have bags on the first day of school. Yeah.
What is happening? But retrospectively, it's an amazing, opportunity journey to be working with those guys, and also Jill Hennessy, who I looked up to.
Her from LA. Was it LA Law? I'm trying to remember what I saw her in first. It wasn't LA Law.
Law and Order.
Law and Order. That's it.
Yeah, and
I was like, I knew she was an attorney. She was the district attorney. That's right.
Austin Jordan. Huh?
I was right. I was like, she was the district attorney. I knew it was a law show, but I'm like, not LA Law. That's what my parents watched. But I was like, wait, what was it? Law and Order first.
Jill, and then all of the other wonderful actors that I got to meet and get to know their work and their person via this experience. And Showtime is a really great company.
And you're playing a district attorney, which pretty much just goes right into the next segment of you being an activist and just really being involved with everything.
She worked.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, Siobhan DeCourcy, Aldous plays the assistant DA, and I am I'm a defense attorney and community activist. Yeah.
Yep. So it fits right in, like your art imitating life or life imitating art. So how did you get started getting more involved with Breonna Taylor, as well as all the different things that you've been involved in? And you're going to be here in North Carolina this weekend with Woke Vote. So share all that, how you got started or what made you get started. Because I think all of us have collectively been feeling a certain kind of way, but now to actually go out and be a part of it, what made you do that?
Yeah. Well, all the things for sure. But as it pertains to Breonna Taylor, I started organizing and working specifically, activism and organizing in college about 7 years ago when Trayvon Martin was killed, and we created demonstrations on campus. We galvanized the campus. I was a part of planning the DC Million Hoodies March in terms of helping to bring national attention to what was happening in Sanford, Florida, and what had happened in Sanford, Florida to Trayvon Martin. Because at the time it was just local news and barely even that. And there was nobody prosecuting the case or, seeing probable cause to press charges against a man named George Zimmerman, and as a
Sounds
student,
vaguely familiar.
huh?
Sounds vaguely familiar.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that was I learned that we lived in a world that happened in, right? Because you're talking about a sophomore in college, just kind of like, wait, what? This happens and nobody's doing anything about it. Nobody's saying anything about it. And then understanding the role that protest plays in elevating something, amplifying something to national attention, but also applying pressure upon the elected leadership to do their job, and not to say to deliver a certain verdict, but there was no reason as to why nobody was pressing charges, right? Like, or investigating what happened. Fast forward, Breonna Taylor. We learned about Breonna Taylor in the midst of this national reckoning that we're having with Ahmaud Arbery and George Floyd, and we find that there's a woman named Breonna Taylor in Louisville, Kentucky, who was killed in her home, and it had been over 3 months, and no one had done anything. No one had apologized to her mother. It was definitely not recurring national news. Nothing about it, but her name was tacked on to the end of the call for justice around the country, and it was clear to me that she's a woman, so we know as it relates to police brutality, it is very hard to amplify the needs of women in that conversation, and justice for women in that conversation. But also we know that what happened to her allegedly wasn't recorded on camera, so there's nothing to stir attention or understanding or concern around it, because we're so used to seeing these traumatic things in the palms of our hands.
Yeah, where's the proof? Right.
Or just even the imagination, connecting the imagination to what happened.
Because it sounds so ridiculous. Oh, she must have did something, or he must have did something. Yeah.
And so when we don't see the atrocities, just imagine if we just heard about what happened to George Floyd. Would there be that many people, out in the street?
No, I don't think so. Yeah.
So point being, knowing these things that were stacked against this young woman and her family getting justice, injustice is pursuing justice. Justice is, unbiased, investigation and prosecution.
Right. She's supposed to be blind.
And so understanding that, and with the background that I experienced, it made sense to me to get involved in a more direct way. And it also not just made sense. Every cell in my body was like, you know what to do. You can't stand to sit in your house anymore, because we all thought we were safer at home until we weren't, until he wasn't. And the last thing I wanted to see is that we heard about this thing that happened to this girl, quote unquote, in Louisville, Kentucky, and then it just went away. You know what I mean? And so I knew that there would be activists organizing around that. I don't consider myself an activist, or certainly not a career activist, but I do respect the role of activists, and that they wake up every morning to imagine a healthier future, that they think of creative ways every day, every minute of the day, to tackle issues that are directly, directly.
I don't know. I feel like in this day and age, being a Black woman who speaks up for herself automatically kind of makes you not, because every morning I'm sure you're waking up, okay, what can I do to make sure I'm representing my community in the right way, that I'm bringing attention to the right things, like with getting involved with woke vote and so on. Like, I mean, it's not, and because you are using your platform.
An artist, like it was in high school where I understood the power in that storytelling has in creating community, that it has in releasing our best selves, releasing our worst selves, letting go of our worst, and connecting humanity. So that is the reason that I wake up to do, to create every day, whether I'm putting pen to paper or acting. So all of these things are in line, but yeah.
It's like a natural thing, almost living in America. It's just built into your DNA. What do they say? Just it's an act of protest being happy in America and Black, or something to that effect. I think I remember reading somewhere, just having that Black girl joy unapologetically and as loud and live as possible. So tell us about your initiative that you're a part of this weekend and how we can support and get involved, because this sounds like a really great way to make sure we build that community here locally, and the importance of voting locally as well, all the way up the ticket.
So this weekend we're working on, it was originally called Carolina Blue, but it's called We Will NC. We Will NC. And We Will NC is something that I thought of because I knew it was necessary for millennials, Generation Z folks to get involved specifically in this election and take up ownership in what it is to make sure we cast a vote and get our community directly registered to vote and kind of change the narrative around what that action is, what our involvement is, and what it does. Because I think in the last presidential election, I recognized there was an apathetic and just uninspired nature to many places in that election that I think caused a lot of people to even elect not to participate.
Right.
And I think I understand what that looks like. I understand that choice. I do. But hopefully, we can change the narrative around what that looks like, because when we don't vote, we inherently allow whoever to win. And so actors like myself, artists, athletes, activists who are all from North Carolina are getting together this weekend. We're going to do a 2-day virtual marathon, essentially. It feels like I'm running a marathon already, just a 2-day virtual event, as well as having 2 in-person pop-up in-person registrations for Durham and Charlotte. So We Will NC will take place on Saturday from 1 to 4 virtually, but also in person in Durham from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Alpaca Chicken in South Durham. So I'm gonna make sure I just send you all this information so you can post.
No, I'll have it all.
And then, this is a lot.
No, because I want to make sure they can just click right on the link. So I'll have it all for everyone in the comments. I'll have everything.
But yeah, it's happening this weekend. And I just want to have a conversation, candid conversations with people who are from North Carolina and who I think my generation and the generation below me may look up to and may be inspired or curious or moved by some of the ideas that come about. And we're talking, local activists and young activists, more mature activists, but also people who put activism in their work, in their art, in their music, and in their acting.
So who all is going to be involved? Have you reached out to local politicians? Are they going to be there as well? Like what can people expect when they arrive? And do you have to, if you're already registered or already vote, can you still come out and hang with the cool peeps?
Absolutely, you can come hang. Because the thing is, we're doing a voter challenge, We Will Vote challenge. And so if you take the We Will Vote pledge, you'll make yourself eligible to participate in our giveaway. Yes, you. Yes, you, Camille. You too are eligible to participate in our giveaway.
I'm just saying, I'm kind of ready. This is nonpartisan, but my hat isn't.
No, it's not. No, the pink is the hat, the blue, it's not. But it's definitely a nonpartisan event. We don't just
Right. Everybody's welcome. Everybody's welcome.
You can do what you want to do, but it's going to be a lot of fun. We have people from City Council. We have people from different activist groups, PRODER, North Carolina, which is Power in Spanish, so Power North Carolina. We have Black and brown people, group speaking.
All of us, BI, POC, the BIPOC, all of us are excited.
All the acronyms.
LGBTQA. I got everybody.
Yes.
Represent for everyone.
And then we have like Rhapsody. She's a wonderful rapper from North Carolina, from Snow Hill, North Carolina. We're not just focusing on, the big major cities. There's representation for everybody, whether you're from Goldsboro or from, just outside of Fayetteville. A
lot of great performers are from here, and they're from some of these smaller towns. Like Ice Cube is from Greensboro. I didn't know that. Like his family is from Greensboro.
Oh, wow.
Or Winston-Salem area. Just found that out from interviewing different people. Like a lot of people are from here. A lot of people or have roots from here. So Ninth Wonder.
Ninth is from here.
I don't know everybody. I'm not going to label because I know I'll forget some people, but a lot of people.
Aldous Hodge was born in North Carolina. He's going to come through and we're going to have a good chat. And
see. I have a thing for underground.
Oh, yeah? Do you?
Well, so I love underground, but I really love Lovecraft as well. So I'm not so mad anymore that they canceled the show, but I'm waiting for him to like make a crossover to make it fun for all of us. And then, you guys have a crossover too, because
Yep.
But what is it about? But speaking of that, what else can we expect for We Will Vote? What more would you like to make sure people know, to share, to get the community involved? Because you're also doing one in Charlotte, and I could talk about Aldous Hodge another time off camera. Just kidding. Completely married. I'm just in my head.
That's cool. Listen, we're going to have a good time. Like, it's going to be fun. I think I'm really excited for some of the live virtual performances that are going to happen from artists from different places in North Carolina. So I'm excited for that. We're also going to, we have some nice giveaways. All the businesses that donated, their Black-owned businesses that are our sponsors for donations. And I mean, I wish I could win every prize because
that's how you know it's a good prize if you want it yourself, right?
I want that. No, I want that.
So I'm gonna need that link to sign up for whatever it is that you want.
Yeah, that's correct.
Well, this sounds really exciting, and I really appreciate that you're doing this here in Durham, that you're bringing all this excitement and all these hometown heroes back to kind of encourage others as well, because sometimes it's hard to believe that you can achieve these wonderful dreams until you see someone else has done it, especially from your own hometown. And so I'm just really glad that you're doing this, because it'll draw more attention to North Carolina being the home of some of the best artists in the world. I mean, hello, Lauren Banks. And then
or Nina Simone, you know what I mean?
Oh my God, I love Nina Simone. I didn't realize that there's a house in Asheville where she learned how to play the piano, and they do a tour and they show that as well whenever you go up to Asheville. And I was just,
I didn't know you could do a tour.
They do like tram tours around Asheville. So depending on where, because we were staying at Grove Park Inn and they had like a pickup from there. So we just did it from there. But it was really neat to see that, because I love Nina Simone as well. But anyway, really excited about everything you got.
Before I fill those shoes, but
Well, no, I'm kidding. But you do bring a good point. It would be kind of nice if they did another biopic over her, and maybe a certain actual person, the same complexion and talent level.
Wow, I really like how you think. It just feels like suddenly you're a part of my agent team and you're creating ideas.
Well, I mean, we didn't even speak about the fact, what's next for you? What would you like to do next?
That's a great question. What I will say, on a more macro level, I would like to do a project that requires all of my instrument and all of the training that we talked about, right? So
I'm like very vague. I'm like, whatever comes my way, in other words. That's good.
Listen, if we'll see. And
I saw your combat reel, so I'm assuming you would like to do something physical as well when you say all your talents. So maybe another Black Panther.
That could be fun.
Oh,
it's coming.
Oh my God, I could see you doing millions of things because you're absolutely gorgeous. You look even younger in person. So it's kind of hard seeing you playing a lawyer, but I've seen you play a lawyer on City on a Hill. Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm definitely
And so I'm excited to see your very long career ahead of you because clearly you have a long, long time ahead of you to work. So thanks again for being a guest. I can't wait to see everything you're doing tomorrow and to be a part of that. So thanks again for bringing this initiative here and for reaching out.
home. It's home, and it's also home. Also happens to be a battleground state. We all it's an all hands on deck situation.
Very purple here, very purple. We might have a Democratic governor now, but we want to keep it that way if we want to be able to wear a mask. Sorry,
I'm
nonpartisan.
any way to vote. I just
Nonpartisan.
say vote.
Got it. Sorry. I try to be nonpartisan. I'm not good at it.
You can do what you do. I'm just distinguishing the difference.
I will cut that out. All right. Probably not because everybody knows by now. All right. Well, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm going to stop recording, but we'll still be here.